Think you could outsmart some of the most iconic horror movie slashers? Think again. These aren't just killers. They're nightmares that come to life. Unstoppable forces of terror that will find you, outlast you, and destroy you. Stick around, because we're about to dive into some of the most impossible horror movie icons that you would 100% not be able to survive. And trust me, running isn't an option. The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. The movie premises around a demonic creature that awakes every 23rd spring, but not just to feed on human body parts, which it uses to regenerate itself. Now, the regeneration is something we have to talk about, because it's not just regenerating legs or arms. We have witnessed the Creeper regenerate his own head. He decapitates someone, decapitates himself, and then puts their head on as his own. Buddy was more or less like a Lego character. Now, the Creeper doesn't only have regeneration, he's also nearly indestructible. He can also fly and uses weapons made out of human bones. And he picks you based off of fear. Now, it's not only fear though, it's the smell of fear. If he somehow gets your scent, he's now locked onto you, meaning there is no escape. Now, I know a lot of you are gonna say, Chris, I just won't be scared. He can smell me and I won't be terrified. Look here, Timmy. When this creature comes up to you and you're looking it dead in its face, I guarantee you're gonna end up peeing your pants. It's not a question of will you survive, it's how long you will survive once he's latched onto your scent. We've seen characters in not only the first one, but the second one. I don't count any of the other ones because they're terrible, but we have seen no one who the Creeper was genuinely locked onto their scent actually survive. Michael Myers from Halloween. The movie premises, of course, on young Michael Myers, who starts his reign of terror at 6 years old when he murdered his sister on Halloween night. And after years of silence in a psychiatric facility, he of course escapes in horror movie fashion, and now is returned to Haddonfield to kill again. Now, Michael Myers is the embodiment of pure evil. He has superhuman durability, strength that completely defies logic, and unrelenting determination. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, Chris, well, I would just run away. Michael Myers is the slowest horror movie character. He literally just walks, but he always catches you. No matter if you get in your car, you run away, it doesn't matter. It almost seems like Michael Myers is always one step ahead of you, even though he's so slow. On top of the fact that bullets, fire, or anything like that does not slow him down or deter him from his actual victim. Now, in my opinion, the only logical way of surviving Michael Myers would just to not be in Haddonfield. But of course, if you're dropped inside of a horror movie setting, there isn't really much you could do. Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. The movie premises around a young boy who drowned at Camp Crystal Lake, due to, of course, neglect. Jason's vengeful spirit then manifests itself, turning him into an undead killing machine. Now, Jason Voorhees is one of those horror movie characters who has multiple versions. We're going to be focusing mainly on actual Jason Voorhees and remake Jason Voorhees. We're not going to be talking about Jason X. We don't have to worry about him going to space, because we're not going to space. Jason is not only virtually immortal, whether it's human or undead version, he's completely unstoppable, wielding, of course, his trusty machete and crushing skulls with ease. He, of course, thrives in his element, the woods, aka Camp Crystal Lake. And no matter how far you run, he's always one step ahead of you. Now, I want to talk about the 2009 version of Jason Voorhees, because I feel like it doesn't get enough credit. Now, in the 2009 remake, Buddy can run. He's also a master hunter. We literally saw him bow and arrow somebody 100 feet from the shore on a boat. And in my opinion, this version of Jason Voorhees is 10 times scarier than any other version, because he's a master tracker. And it almost seems like in the 2009 remake, he ends up getting hooked on someone, putting them in some underground trap area, almost making it look like the basement from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Moral of the story is, any version of Jason Voorhees that's coming after you, you're absolutely cooked. And for everybody who's going to go in the comment section and say, well, I just won't go to Camp Crystal Lake. Have you seen Freddy vs. Jason? Buddy is running rampant everywhere. It does not matter. Any way you slice it, once Jason sees you, it's over for you. Freddy Kruger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. The movie premises on a former child murderer burned alive by vengeful parents, and Freddy now haunts your dreams, turning nightmares into his personal hunting ground. The biggest problem with Freddy Krueger is the fact that you cannot sleep. He attacks you in your dreams when you're at your most vulnerable state, and once you fall into his world, he controls absolutely everything. I would describe Freddy Krueger as a sadistic, supernatural dream demon, and all I can say to you is good luck. And a lot of you guys are gonna go in the comment section below and say, look, Chris, we know we can bring him into the real world. We understand that part. How are you gonna do it? You not only have to master lucid dreaming, but you have to realize that you're in that dream when you're in his dream world. It took characters a very long time to figure out, okay, we can actually drag Freddy into the real world where he's not as powerful. He's just a normal guy with butter knives on his fingers. But it's not possible, because when you're inside of the actual movie, when you're inside of A Nightmare on Elm Street, you don't know these things. Now, if this were to happen in the real world, I think it's possible we might be able to figure out, okay, Freddy's the dream demon, we're in a dream. Most of the time, do you think when you're dreaming that you're in an actual dream? Or do you wake up and go, did that actually happen? That's what I'm saying. Good luck. Pinhead from Hellraiser. The movie premises around a sadistic leader of the Cenobites, and Pinhead offers them ultimate pleasure and pain through, of course, that laminate Rubik's Cube. Now, yes, technically you have to actually solve the Rubik's Cube, or at least a piece of the Rubik's Cube, to unlock the Cenobites and Pinhead to come out of nowhere. But it seems like in every adaptation, we see people either A, not knowing that once they solve that Rubik's Cube, something terrible is going to happen, or they're coerced into doing it, like we saw in the newest version of Hellraiser, because you're promised so many things once it's solved. solved. Once that cube tastes your blood, you're locked in. Because once the Xenobites arrive, they drag you into their dimension, where it is nothing but pain and suffering for all of eternity. Now, as I've said multiple times, I know a lot of you are going to say, Chris, I'm just not going to solve the cube. Listen, that's something that I would say. But when somebody is promising you something and you don't know what can actually happen from it, what would you do? Hey, we're going to give you $100 million if you could solve this cube. You're going to try to solve it because you have no idea in your mind that there are demons from another dimension that are going to come through this cube and torture you for all of eternity. John Kramer from the Saw series. John Kramer goes by many names. Most of you may know him by Jigsaw, who is a terminally ill engineer who creates deathly traps to test his victims' will to live, forcing them to make impossible choices. Now, escaping one of Jigsaw's traps requires immense physical pain, which is nearly impossible to endure, on top of all of the pressure because you're not only doing this to yourself, but it's also timed. I probably can't show you the clip, but there's a clip in Saw X where the girl is sawing off her leg to suck up bone marrow, have it fill inside of a machine. Now look, the pain itself is absolutely insane, but the fact that she was so close but did not have enough time was the problem. So let's say you're inside of a saw trap. You have 5 minutes to finish this trap. You not only go through all of that pain, but you get so close to thinking you're gonna live, but you still end up dying. Now I know a lot of you are gonna say, Chris, look, I'm just not gonna play the tape, because that's exactly what I would say. Unfortunately, you have to play the tape in order to play the game. Now I know you don't want to play the game, but it's almost a hidden rule that you have to play the tape before you play the game. Now for me personally, I would rather just starve than play the game and just sit down there in the trap, but I bet you he would end up starting it. I know someone's gonna go in the comment section and say, look, Chris, technically you can survive a saw trap, and that is 100% true, but how much of you actually survives that saw trap? After doing something so terrible to yourself to pretty much appease him, how much more of a person are you actually? That's the question. Ghostface from Scream. Unlike other killers on this list, Ghostface is a human, but always seems to be a new person, taking their own spin on being this deadly killer. These killers vary on skill and intelligence, but there's one thing I can guarantee you. There's always more than one Ghostface. In every adaptation of the Scream franchise we've seen, there's always at least 2 killers. In the newest one, there are 3. And every single killer inside of every single Scream movie seems to blend inside of a social friend group that exploits their personal weaknesses. They're not only just killers. Most of the time, they're your friends. People you trust with your deepest and darkest secrets. People who you're alone with, who end up taking that dark turn into insanity and try and kill you. Now, I know we all have that one friend that you wouldn't be too surprised if they were Ghostface inside of a horror movie. So having a friend group and having someone recently come in or coming in a month late or something like that, and there's just something a little bit off, they want to know too much information. Of course, we're premising on the fact that we're inside of a Scream movie. I wouldn't trust him at all, because we've seen too many legacy characters get killed for trusting someone. The Xenomorph from Alien. The Xenomorph is a biochemical killing machine, engineered by nature to be the perfect predator. The Xenomorph hurts without mercy. The Xenomorph not only has acid blood, but a razor-sharp tail, and is also a relentless hunter. Of course, the Xenomorph thrives in tight enclosed spaces like a spaceship, and fighting it is nearly impossible, due to the fact that if you cut it, the acid gets on you, it's going to melt your skin. If you blow it up, it's also going to melt your skin. We also have to think about the fact that these movies are premised and based on a spaceship. If you blow up a Xenomorph on the spaceship, it's going to make a massive hole in the spaceship, meaning that everything and everyone is now going to get sucked into outer space, meaning you're going to die no matter what. So forget fighting, forget running. Its speed and intelligence ensure you to fail. Now, your only saving grace would be having a predator on your side, because we've seen Alien versus Predator, where they do go at it. The only problem is that 9 times out of 10, there are at least 15 Xenomorphs and 1 or 2 predators. And we've seen them clash and go both ways with who wins and who doesn't. 9 times out of 10, the one with numbers is going to win, meaning your survival is 0. Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface is a mentally impaired cannibal who is manipulated by his grotesque family. Leatherface uses his infamous chainsaw to dispatch intruders. But yes, the movie is based in Texas, and it also has to do with a group of friends picking up a hitchhiker on a road trip, who end up dropping him off, going inside, and of course running into Leatherface. Now see, I know a lot of you are going to say, Chris, well, I'm just not going to do that, and that's exactly the logical way that I would survive, because there's no way I'm doing that. As I said before, we're premising ourselves inside of the movie that we're talking about. We're not talking about real world. We're talking about inside of the actual film. So you have no choice. Friends picked up a hitchhiker. Now you're inside of Leatherface's house. He's not only extremely fast, has insane amounts of strength, but is unwaveringly loyal to his twisted family, which makes him absolutely terrifying. You also have to remember that you are in an immense rural area. There is no one around. No one is coming to save you. Every adaptation of Leatherface we've seen has gotten scarier and scarier and scarier, in my opinion. Still, the best movie that holds up in my opinion is the 1974 version, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think he was 10 times scarier then than any of the new adaptations, especially the newest one. But he is just as terrifying in every movie. And even if you were to escape his house, all roads lead back to him. He's not just gonna let you go. But I think you're also forgetting about the cannibalistic family. His actual family has attributes that help him, and who will also make sure that you end up in that that basement. Because once you're in that basement, there's practically nothing you can do. You can try to escape, you could try to lockpick, you could try to do this, but once they hear that sound, bells go off in their head, making it nearly impossible to not only run through the house or escape the actual tunnels, but to even survive for 10 minutes. And finally, you have Chucky from Child's Play. Chucky is based on a serial killer who inhabits themselves inside of a child's doll. And in, of course, horror movie fashion, he's inside of a good guy doll, turning Chucky into a super small but deadly predator. Now look, I know a lot of you are going to say, Chris, look, I'm not getting packed up by a doll, and I completely agree. But we're inside of the movie. You're not going to think that a doll sitting on the floor can actually kill you. Because 9 times out of 10, Chucky ends up getting the jump on someone. They have no idea what's going on. Now granted, Chucky is not the strongest. It is a doll with the actual strength of a grown man. Which 9 times out of 10, most of us can probably withstand that. It's his small stature, but his massive creativity to take household objects, turning them into weapons. In some of the most unexpected ways possible. We've seen him push people out of windows because they got so scared. We've actually also seen him burn alive, but Buddy doesn't die. He can of course then transfer his soul into another doll, or just make himself better altogether. Chucky is one of those characters that in my personal opinion, I would just punt across the room and run, but 9 times out of 10, Chucky will kill you before you even notice it's an actual haunted doll. Now, as I said before, this video is based on you being inside of the actual movie. And obviously, if we were in the real world and we're talking about these characters actually being brought into the real world, Michael Myers would be very easy to survive, because you can not only get in your car and drive out of Haddonfield, you don't have to live there at all. So there you have it. In my opinion, there is a list of horror movie slashers that you have zero chance of surviving. From serial killer dolls to nightmare demons, there is no humanly possible way you were surviving these movies while being inside of them. I don't want to see any comments about how you're built different or how you would survive this movie, because we're talking about actually being inside of them. I'm talking about these things happening in the real world. Chucky was in the real world, I would punt him across the room and run out of my house. Michael Myers, you could just leave Haddonfield and call it a day. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. Because what makes it so impossible, the fact that you're actually inside of these movies. You know nothing. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Hopefully you did go and enjoy today's video, and if you did, don't forget to smack a like on it. That'd be greatly appreciated. Comment down below what else you guys want to see on the channel. Also want to say thank you guys so much for all the recent support on the channel. It truly does mean the world to me, because we have been going absolutely insane lately, and I love to see it. With all that being said, guys, my name is Chris, and of course, I will catch you guys on the next one.